Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Real Talk with Speak Soundly Learning. This is our second episode, and we're very excited about this because today we're speaking about something that's really important for a lot of teens across the country right now. Because as they're, embarking on their next steps, whether they're going to university or taking an apprenticeship, it's something that really matters. And it's a big decision because it maps out the rest of your life. So today we've got our very lovely, one of our teachers at Speak Soundly Learning, Funmi, who is also a childminder herself. So could you just introduce yourself, please, Funmi?
Hello, Emma. Thank you, Emma Jane, for inviting me here. I am Olufumi Williams, but most people call me Funmi Williams. Okay, so I'm a registered childminder, but also a teacher with Speak Soundly Learning. All right.
Brilliant. And it's good to have you with us. For me, it's like a warm hug. She makes everyone feel better. So it's very appropriate that she is a childminder. So I just want to ask you, for me, a little bit about how that, how you got into childminding. So could you just tell us how you ended up in that career in the first place?
Okay. So in that career, I didn't plan this, so life threw this at me, but it was something I felt I should be able to do that because I've looked after people's children. So we moved from London. We've lived in London for almost 10 years, and then we moved from London to Essex. So I think I was working in the job center, so running, taking the train, and every day the school where my children was had this after school club, but I was always late.
Mhm.
And for every evening I'm late, I pay £5 every evening. And I thought to myself, after we moved for about 3 months, we moved in August, and then this was October, and I thought to myself, I can't do this anymore because I'm running from for one train and the other, you know. And I thought, okay, I need to be able to do something. I have a friend that we moved to Essex together. She used to do childminding in London. She used to live in Oval, which is around Brixton area. And she used to do child minding. So many a times when I visit her, she's looking after children. I'll help her out. And I thought to myself, and then the children come to my house because I didn't have children for a long time after we got married. I think it took almost 7 years before I had my first child, our first child. So I now sat down and I thought to myself, I cannot do this. I can't do this. I tried night walk in Asda for,
Yeah.
for about 2 or 3 months, and I couldn't sort that out either. Then I thought to myself, I need to be able to do something. And said, oh,
Yeah.
there was free training going on with Essex early years for childminders. And I thought, wow, how do I get into that?
Yeah.
Luckily for me, I had a friend who was in church and she was wanting to go for exactly the same thing. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, that is perfect. How do I get into this? So they said, as of that time, you didn't need to have a level 3 before you
Mm.
started. You could start childminding. And so in order to make sure that I'm able to look after my children as of that point in time, I had two of them, two girls. I need to be close home. I need to be able to do something that will, yeah, how will I call it? Bring me home, but keep me home, but
Yeah.
also make some kind of income from it. So that's how I came into childminding. So I think I started childminding before I started my initial level and then went into level 3 later on, you know, while I was
Mm.
already childminding.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And that's like me, that's like so many mums, I'm the same. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and the reason I'm an online teacher and I became an online teacher was to fit around my daughter's schedule of school. Absolutely. We have to do this as mothers. So I
Mm.
think a lot of mums out there have done a similar thing. I know a lot of teaching assistants that got jobs in schools, to fit around the kids and the school
Mm,
holidays. So
mm,
it's totally normal. Yeah,
mm,
absolutely. And it's really good that you got into that and found that solution. But it is
mm,
something that a lot of mums struggle with, and
mm.
childcare is so expensive.
It is. It
Yeah,
is. I
yeah,
agree with you on that, especially
yeah,
the early years one. It's
yeah.
really expensive.
Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely, absolutely. It was something that as a single mum, paying childcare for me, being a teacher in the classroom became
mm,
impossible because it was taking so much of my salary, So yeah, good move on your part. So you were talking about the fact that it sort of looked different back then to how it looks now. So we're going to talk about that, aren't we? Like the routes you can take, to
mm,
get into apprenticeships nowadays and how that
mm,
looks. So yeah, so good. Thank you for sharing
mm,
that.
mm,
I'm just going to ask you just another little question here. So has work ever thrown, this is something that I often think about as a
mm.
teacher when I was teaching early years especially, but has work ever thrown a situation at you that no training could have ever prepared you for?
I think so. I think so once. I think it was a situation whereby I thought, okay, um, when for us as a childminder, when you get a child, you try to settle that child in and you think, okay, approximately this child should be settled in. They say when we're doing training, maximum 2, 3 months, the child should
Mm,
settle. If the child is not settling after 3 months, then there's something wrong. And I had a child like that. This child will cry. If you feed the child will eat and sleep, except they're sleeping, they're crying. So for 3 good months, that child did not settle at all.
mm,
It got to a stage that, when you stand on the window of your room and you can see someone coming and it's like you start having a huge massive headache as if, that child is coming. That was how I felt. And I
mm,
thought to myself, I cannot go on with this and I cannot allow the child to go on like that because they're not settling. So I had to have a word with the parent and said to the parent, I think you need to take your child because this is 3 months now and this child is not settling. I
mm.
don't think this child is cut out to be here. You
Yeah,
understand? I think you might need to stay home more with them because I think what do you call it, the separation syndrome was a bit quite high and
yeah,
very, the relationship was too tight for anyone to get in between the child and the mom. So I had to tell them to take the child away. But eventually I saw the child a couple of years later with another childminder who happens to be my friend and said,
uh,
so he's done all his crying with me and went to settle and that was, setting. And it was nice to see that child actually. It was really, really, really nice to see the child afterwards that the child settled. I think we are not trained to actually see going beyond the 3 months. Maximum, they will tell you 1 month that child should settle. And I've
yeah,
seen that. But when it goes beyond 3 months, that is something that the textbook, the training did not, equip me for. It was like, oh my goodness, how can a child, be crying constantly, except they are asleep or, they are eating. That's it, you
yeah,
know, that.
absolutely. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard as a parent, isn't it? When you
Mm,
when you go through it, but never mind when
mm,
it's somebody else's child. Yeah, I've
mm,
had seen a lot of tears in my
mm,
time as well, and it's tough. It really does impact you as a person. So there's a lot of emotional things with child minding as well, and teaching in any sort of profession like this. But
mm.
yeah, no, it's yeah, all sorts of weird and wonderful things happen, don't they? With little children.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. All right. So
Mm,
that leads me nicely on to, not to put anyone off apprenticeships or anything,
mm.
but we want to talk about the apprenticeships because this is something that you're really interested in, isn't it? And
Yeah, I'm very
has
passionate about it.
yeah, and the qualifications and the
Mm,
training that
mm,
goes alongside that. So,
mm,
you were saying you've told us that you did your level 3 and got
mm,
into it that way.
mm.
So yeah, do you think vocational apprenticeship routes get the same respect as going to university? And should they?
Actually, I would say to an extent, maybe not. Take, for example, in the
Mm,
Black community, most parents will say their child should go to university. You
yeah,
understand me?
yeah, yeah,
And when you talk about apprenticeship, they look at you like, really,
yeah,
really,
yeah,
So they believe that university is a thing. You understand me? But in the day and age where we are, I think personally, they in the setting here in the UK, people are beginning to understand a bit more about apprenticeship. So on the long run, it's not really, really given much appreciation, if you go to university. But for those as in the industry, in the market itself, in the job market itself, employers are beginning to embrace that and, actually see the benefits of it. You understand me?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if parents don't see the benefit of it, at the end of the day, the employers are seeing the benefit of it. So parents might not necessarily look at it as, oh, it's not something that you or your mates went to university and you want to do apprenticeship. It's different. It's beginning to change a little bit because I'm beginning to see parents, appreciate that more because they've seen those that went to uni are struggling to get a job. You understand me?
Mm.
Because they have the theory, but they don't have the experience.
Yeah.
And employers are looking for hands-on. You
Yes.
understand me? And the employers that are looking for hands-on as in now. They don't want you learning. So when you bring in an apprentice, they're learning from the scratch. So they become part of that company. They work in that company. So if you look at it now, before it used to be, oh, no, you didn't go to university. So, you know, you know, that way. But now it's like, oh, and then with the debt that is associated with the university now,
Yes.
parents are beginning to open their eyes wide. So it's like employers are employing more. For those who are employers, are employing more apprentices. But parents now are beginning to open their eyes even more, especially in the Black community. I would say in the Black community, they need to open their eyes more because we have
Yeah.
this thing, associated with, oh, you didn't go to university, so you're nobody. They
Yeah.
want, if Emma, Jane, this goes beyond even sometimes they will be asking, did the boy go to university? She wants to marry, he wants to marry your daughter.
Wow.
He didn't go to university. What's his qualification? What does he have? Where does he work?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
But forgetting that right now, the job market is changing. You understand, Mike?
Yeah.
Since COVID, things have changed all the way around. I've met people who are sitting in Japan and been sitting there for 12 years and working for companies in America. So
Yeah.
you understand me, hands-on is what is important. I know it's not being given yet, but I think the importance is coming more from the employers than parents.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about stigma, isn't it? And of, oh, I want my child to go to university and do really well. We
Yes.
all we all feel that a little bit. But
Mm,
actually, I agree. I think, when you look at some of the top business people,
mm.
some of the most successful people, they didn't actually go to university.
No,
And
no.
they've gone down a different route. And
Mm.
let's be real, nearly all children, are not actually that way inclined to go to
Thank you.
university,
Thank you.
not
They're
that
not
kind of
academic.
learners.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're not, and I will say this wholeheartedly, I didn't find university easy. It wasn't
Mm,
something that was natural to me,
mm,
I didn't necessarily enjoy it or enjoy the learning
mm,
process. I
mm.
did as I got a little bit older, but at the beginning, the thought of going straight to university was so daunting. And I think if you've got that option to be
Mm,
able to go and do something,
mm.
that you really are passionate about and earn actual money, that's such a
Yes.
pull for a
Yeah.
lot of young people.
Mm.
So yeah, I agree. I think it needs to be more of an option. And I suppose when I think, got 17 years ago when I was at college, it was very much yes, you could do an apprenticeship, but it wasn't the normal thing to go and do
No,
that.
they would call
Yeah,
it as of that time
yeah,
vocational school, isn't it? But
yeah,
now it's changing because
yeah.
it's changed. It's an apprenticeship. And if the government is willing to put about 725 million into this, creating new,
Wow.
yes, 725 million. And I'm passionate about this because I told my children, I said, oh my goodness, if I was your age, if I was a teenager now, and I'm in this time and season, I will learn anything I want to learn. In
Yeah,
fact, I was asking my son, I said, please, do they take 50 something year olds
yeah.
anymore?
Can
For,
I go?
can I go? Because I still have things I want to learn. Say,
Yeah,
forget it, mom. But I did notice, I did see that they do take some older people, but in
yeah.
specific areas. You
Yes,
understand
they
that
do.
kind of thing?
Yeah,
Specific areas. So it is something that people need to look into,
Yeah.
not just even teenagers. They take up to 25, I think 26, and you, depending on what you want to do, gets to be an apprentice in, even at 50 something, they might
Wow.
not yes, you can now. Before it
Wow.
used to be like, oh, you have to
17.
17, yeah, but
Yeah.
now it's like 16. Now they're taking them from even when they finish their GCSEs.
From school. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
before it didn't used to be like that. They
Yeah.
would tell them, no, you need to finish your GCSEs, do your A levels, and then you can come. But now from GCSEs upwards, and if you are 50 something and you think this is something that if they do take 50 something like my
Yeah.
age, you can go there and be the apprentice. So far, you forget about your age, so because you could have a 20 something year old telling you what to do. So far, your pride is not,
Get over
exactly. You need to get over it. If you
it.
are willing to learn, you better
Yeah.
learn, and you just put your head down and learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Make a better life for yourself if there's a way to do this. And I think it's good that you're sharing this awareness because I didn't know that.
Mm,
But yeah, there's apprenticeships and all sorts of things, accountancy, hairdressing, plumbing, anything
mm.
you really want to go and do. And there's good money in it. It's good,
Yes.
good jobs with good money in it. So why not? Why not?
Mm,
Brilliant. Right, we'll move on because it's fascinating. But let's think just now about yeah, I mean. What's one thing, I suppose, that you've learned on the job that
mm,
no classroom ever taught you? And what I mean by this is because when I went to go do my PGCE,
mm,
I did it a little bit later, well, a lot later. I did it when I was 26. So
mm,
I'd actually worked in schools and had that experience of being like a higher level teaching assistant in schools. And then I had that experience. So what I noticed was, me compared to maybe other people, I could draw on that experience and I
mm,
actually knew things that they maybe didn't know because I'd actually dealt with that situation.
mm.
So for you, what's that one thing, I suppose, that no the classroom didn't really teach you, I guess?
I will say first and foremost, apart from communication, but most importantly, you being able to be there for not just the parent, but the children.
Yeah,
Because sometimes their life hits and parents come to you for support.
yeah,
And those are the areas that, as far as child mining is concerned, is like, no, it's not a go area. When I started, it wasn't something that they would tell you, oh, don't listen to the people. Now you have to sit there and listen, not just listen, but empathize with the parent. And if you have
mm,
some kind of solution that you think maybe may help, then you can do that. So more like you having a listening ear to the parent and the child as well, what they're going through, that kind of thing. And it could be in any situation. And they're not going to, how will I call it? Life is not going to tell you this is the day this is going to happen. They can just be dropped right there and then. And you have to deal with it
yeah,
sensitively, but also emotionally as
yeah.
well, that kind of thing. But still remembering that you are a professional as well.
Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely. No, I agree. I've quite often I had moments during teaching, in certain schools where I would be stood on the door with
mm,
an upset parent,
mm,
explaining something that had happened at home, maybe,
mm,
and you don't realize that when you go into any sort of child care or teaching or
mm,
working with children, that
mm.
you are, teacher, parent,
Uh,
sometimes
mm.
therapist.
Therapist.
Yeah, like all the hats.
You wear all
But
the hats.
yeah,
Yes.
but and it's these things, and I totally agree that you do not get taught, if you
Mm,
go just going to university or whatnot.
mm.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And they're really important life skills, having empathy, being able to communicate, being able to show up, in a meeting or a presentation. That stuff you kind of learn on the job, isn't it? That
Yeah, I know they call it
confidence.
emotional intelligence now, but
Yeah.
it's not something that was taught then.
No, definitely not.
It's
Definitely
it's still
not.
it's still something that is not taught now. It's just
No.
coming to, the light of day that, oh, when you're working. And don't forget, whatever we do, whether in apprenticeship, it's going to involve human beings. So you need to
Yeah.
have some kind of emotional intelligence, about everybody, what you're doing in the kind of clients or customers that you're meeting during the day. anytime, anywhere, you need
Yeah.
to have some kind of emotional intelligence as
Yeah.
relating to that.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I agree. It's one of those things you see so many teenagers, don't you know? And I think, oh bless them. And you know, and a lot of teenagers and they can't even communicate with their friends. So how are they going to work, you know, in a job and communicate on the job? And it's something that really, I think by being around other professionals really
Mm,
does help that. You know, especially with lads, you know, teenage
mm,
boys,
mm,
to bring on their confidence. So
mm,
I think it's so valuable.
mm,
So let's just go through now, linking in because we just spoken about communication.
mm.
So how much of your job turns out to just be about communication? So,
Every
oh,
bit of it,
yeah,
because from the baby that was given to me, maybe at 4 months or 9 months, I'm talking to that child. You
yeah.
understand? Every day I'm talking to that child. Whether, and you look, sometimes I tell parents, you think that they're not hearing you. They might not be able to talk yet, but they understand every bit of what you are saying. So it's communication, whether with the children, with the parents, with myself sometimes,
Mm,
and then with outside professionals as well, because you need to deal, when they start nursery, you need to deal with their teachers, you need to deal with the teachers in the after school club or in the nursery, you have to deal with outside professionals, maybe when it comes to their health as well. So you need to deal with, it's all about communication, to be
yeah,
honest. And with early years, we're really big about communication, and that child, that by the time they're saying their first word, what are the words that they're saying? They've been
yeah,
hearing all this while, sitting, crawling, they've been listening. What are the words they start to say? Can they
yeah.
make a sentence? So it's all about communication,
Of
really.
course it is, of
Mm,
course it is. Yeah, absolutely. And that is the one thing. And I think, you know, we're all, it's quite daunting for anyone going into a new job because, you know, for me especially, I think I remember, you know, those first staff meetings where you've got, you know, all the teachers there, they're experienced teachers and you have to contribute and you have to say something and you have to
mm,
show up and it's again not something you are taught how to do very well at uni. So yeah,
yeah,
good. Yeah, amazing. So how do you adapt? This is important, I think. How
mm.
do you adapt the way you speak and present yourself depending on who you are talking to?
Okay, take for example, I'm talking to a parent, depends on the kind of relationship I have with that parent. If they were parents that have been a bit more friendly and a bit more, then probably I can, say things jokingly, but if the parents that are, is like everything needs to be professional, everything, then I go along that way. But if I'm dealing with outside professionals, take for example, I'm dealing with Ofsted or I'm dealing with another teacher in the nursery or after school club or whatever it is, it has to be professional. Or they are giving me information to pass on to the parent because that is another setting its own, then it has to be professional. So take, for
Mm,
example, sometimes I have to write reports, and those reports I have to write and type and send to the school, send to the parent
yeah,
as well for them to compare, especially the ones that are going to reception and see where they are from my setting. And then we have the 2-year-old, reports as well for them to
yeah,
start nursery. So those are different kinds of communication. It has to be more professional. The language needs to be tailored to the early years development of the 2-year-old, things like that. So for every kind of, communication is different. And then when I'm with the children as well and we're playing, the communication is totally different. We
yeah,
have
of
a
course.
language, we have a language within our setting. So, that kind of thing. And we have rules, we have regulations, within our setting, that kind of thing. You hear, oh, you're not getting, there's this thing where from Monday, I have a chat. They call it a chat where you behaved well. You understand? So on Friday, by Friday, that chat, if you have that tick on that chat up to Friday, then you get a surprise on Friday.
Ah,
So, but most of them say, "Oh, you've been naughty. You're not gonna get a surprise on Friday," that kind of thing.
Ah,
So I normally have that. So so our language is different within
yeah,
my setting as well, especially when you're playing with the children, and then when you are playing with a baby or I'm with the baby is different from when the teenagers or the younger or older ones come from primary school, or you have the ones from secondary school coming. The
yeah,
language is different, and then
of
as soon
course.
as they come in, it's like, oops, we don't say that here. The
Yeah,
language needs to be different because now I have a mixed age group.
all ages. Yeah, 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 of course. Yeah, I've never even thought about that. I always think of like childminder as just like babies and younger children, but I never would have thought. Yeah, I'm sure there
Yeah,
are like a few teens that'll come to you.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
secondary
Absolutely.
schoolers.
Yeah, no, it is. It's something that, yeah, you learn, don't you? And this is again another thing I learned on the job of, yeah, your professional tone and
Mm,
your non-professional tone. It's very, very
mm,
different. And it's
mm,
something, again, that you're not taught at uni or even on, in the apprenticeship, in the training side, in the college side. That's something
mm,
you learn on the job. You just learn how to do. Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important. And as well, you were saying as well, like the written aspect of communication. So there's a
mm,
lot of, and like same for me, writing reports and things like
mm,
that. You've got to learn how to, yeah,
mm,
totally
mm,
adapt your writing. So it's not just
mm.
your spoken language, but your written language as well. Yeah, really, really important.
I
I
think
think
another thing the children, I remember this, one of the children told me, said, I learned from the pitch of your tone as well. And when she said
ah,
that, I said, "Oh my goodness." I said, "So you are beginning?" Say, "Yes, I'm beginning to adapt to that because when your tone goes up, I know that
not good. Yeah.
not good. She means business. She means
Yeah.
business. That means whatever she says stop doing, you need to stop doing it." And I
I
was
know.
laughing. And it's good how children adapt to tone and
Oh,
they're
they
able to
know.
pick up tone.
Yeah, yeah.
That kind of said, "Oh, when your tone goes up, when you're saying something," I said, "Don't do that.
Yeah.
Can you please not do that?" I said,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Stop it. Yeah. My one of my kids used to say to me, they'd just look at me and it was literally a look with me. I didn't even have
yeah,
to say anything in the end. It was just a stare. And then
yeah,
so
you
I think
behave."
I was a year 6 teacher, so I had to be a little bit tougher with the little ones.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, body language, everything,
Body language.
all of
Yeah.
it. Yeah, absolutely. Good. All right. So if a course existed to help teens and young people
Mm,
and young adults practice real world English interviews,
mm.
workplace writing, handling tricky conversations. Would that have helped you or people that you've worked with? Do you think you've come across quite a lot of young people that need these sorts of skills?
Definitely. And it's not just young people, but also parents that were immigrating into the UK. I've had to support
Yeah,
parents sometimes that way in order to make sure that if they are going for interview, I can input into whatever, struggles they were having at that point in time because English is not their first language, that kind of,
mm-hmm.
and I had a lot of children in my setting that were like that. And I had to ask you know, parents, are you okay with the interview you're going for? Oh, no. So please, what does this word mean? How do I pronounce
Oh,
this? Things like that. So for teenagers, even if they were going to go into apprenticeship, they still need to learn how to communicate. And if there was a course that was like that, I would advise that they should go for it because
yeah,
if you are going to be working with people, regardless of what kind of job that you do, you need to be able to know how to differentiate your communication with
yeah,
those that you are going to be working with,
yeah,
around, and for as well. It's
yeah.
very important, you know.
Yeah, no, it is. It's
Mm.
huge. It's huge, and it's something we do this, don't we? So we know we support people with
So,
communication skills.
yeah.
I used to be a legal English teacher. Well, I am a legal English teacher
Teacher.
and a psychology English teacher, and so you for men, you do
Uh,
travel and tourism as well.
yeah, yeah.
And it's something that we see because we work with a lot of professionals.
Professionals, yeah.
Especially, we've both been in a group with Ukrainian professionals at the minute, and really just helping them to feel confident, because what we see is a lot of people not feeling confident, and it's the
Mm,
confidence gap that you
mm,
need to plug to make
mm,
yourself feel better and able to handle these situations. And I
mm,
think that goes alongside any students, even in the UK, students
mm,
abroad, students
mm,
anywhere, just
mm,
really trying to build those English skills.
mm.
So yeah, what's the one communication skill that you think every young person should develop before they enter the workplace? Whether it's
Communication.
speaking, writing, presenting,
Everything, and
all of
also
it.
customer service. Customer service is very important. It's a big thing. I know sometimes people just overlook it, that kind of thing, but it's a big thing. Communication is very important. The writing, the speaking, the choice of words that you use.
Yeah,
And like I remember there was a student I was teaching, and I said, okay, if I was to have a 5-year-old and I have uh, a lovely young lady, and I say, oh, to the 5-year-old, you are very attractive. Is that right? She said, oh, I don't think so. I said, the mother of that child will come at you.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I said,
Inappropriate.
inappropriate. I said, but if you use, oh, the girl is really, cute, pretty. But for the lady, and you say, oh, she's really attractive,
Yeah,
no, no problem, so far she doesn't have a boyfriend or husband, because they will come at you as well. I said, but
yeah,
in that space, what I'm trying to differentiate is using the different language. It's still
yeah,
the
yeah,
same thing, beautiful, pretty, but it's a synonym. So you need to learn that, and then learn how to offer customer service that is good. I'm not saying, I know I've met a lot of young lads, especially in the day, the apprentices that come into my space, and they flatter you real good. And I'm thinking
Ah,
they
bless
they
them.
they they are beginning to learn customer service here, whether it's true or
Ah,
false, but it's good to be able to,
yeah,
write, speak, and then also know the kind of appropriate language to use in the space of where you are and who you're dealing with as
yeah.
well, and then offer a good customer service as well.
Absolutely. There's a really popular fast food advert at the minute. You'll know the one, and it's talking about that teens are lazy, and it's saying basically teenagers are lazy,
Mm,
but or they don't want to work, and it's basically saying, but actually by working in this place, they're learning all of these skills all of the time. So
mm,
I had a part-time job. I had a job in a cafe when I was 12 years old. I'm not entirely sure it was legal,
mm,
but I always had like a Saturday job or
mm,
something job. And I
mm,
do think it
mm.
helps. I think this is it. We could go on and on. We need to wrap up soon. But
Okay.
this is another side to this as well, where you see these, a lot of parents are, and I think this even happened within my family, where we're not pushing kids to go into and do work, early on and have these jobs, or
Mm,
even if they're
mm,
allowed to anymore because of
mm,
different laws and things. It was different when I was younger. But I think that was really important to be able
mm,
to go into a workplace and have
mm,
a nice job on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning and
mm.
get those skills, because yeah, you're getting a bit of cash, but at the same time, you're building your confidence. It really
Yeah, I
does
think that only
help.
happens if your family has some kind of food business or some kind of business that you are part of. And
Yeah.
I think apart from work experience, I think you are able to have work experience from 12-year-olds, from 12
Oh,
year
I
olds.
don't know if it's 12. I don't know
I,
if
I
I think
know
it's too young.
it's
It was
legal.
13 when
Yeah.
I was
I
younger.
think,
So
yeah.
I know I don't want to say,
I'm
I
not
don't want to
sure.
say
I
in
don't
case
want to
it's
say
wrong.
either.
No, no, no,
I'm
no.
not,
But
but I know at least from 16, you need to be able
from
to have,
16,
yeah,
yeah,
from
yeah,
16, you need to be
yeah,
able to have some kind of work experience. Say your family has a business that they run as a family, and you are involved in that, because every child is always involved in a family business, whether
yeah,
it's doing this or doing that, you
yeah.
you will be involved, because I remember very well, I've seen a couple of families around that have family businesses, and their children are really involved in that.
Yeah, and it's good. It is. It does. It builds all these skills that we're talking about. And but again, it's going back to that, apprenticeships, giving them the real skills, giving them the chance to actually be able to learn how to communicate effectively in a
Mm,
real way, in a real situation.
mm.
So I'm just gonna say thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us today,
Thank
because I think this is a really important topic. You
Mm.
know, there's so much going on with teens, and I had Zach on last week, who is like a
Yes.
perfect example of
Yeah.
what good communication looks like, because
Yes.
he's so sociable and he talks to
Yeah.
everyone and he's had these amazing opportunities. But let's just remember, you know, a lot of teens, you know, parents are not you know, not pushing their kids to go and do that.
Mm.
You know, and I think it is really important to remember, you know, it does help. It does make your, you know, your child more prepared, more equipped for the
Mm.
real world, you know,
Yes.
even down to being able to handle your own bills, being able to
Mm.
talk to someone on the phone about a
Yes.
mortgage, you know,
Mm.
things like that. It all adds to, you know, that end goal of being, you know, an independent adult. And that's
Individual.
what
Yeah.
we want. That's what we're
Yes.
building. Independent, financially, you know, aware, well, people. All
Yeah.
right. So
But-
I'm going to shut up now.
Okay. Well, those
But
are skills they don't teach in the classroom that they need to get,
exactly, exactly. This is
and
what
they
we're
are
saying.
skills that they need for life,
Life, exactly.
for
So yeah,
life.
so thank you so
Thank you
much
very
for
much for
coming
the
on
opportunity.
and talking to us about this and just raising that awareness again. You know,
Mm.
we do have courses, many courses, don't we? You
Yes.
know, and childcare, healthcare, psychology, law, we have what are our other ones? HR,
HR.
uh, yeah, marketing, account, finance. So we have courses for teens to just come on, and it's also about coming on and just trying something, you know, and
Mm.
having a go. So
Mm.
I know that, you know, just from family experience, that accounting, you know, apprenticeships are out there. So if you think, actually, I
Yes.
don't want to go do a maths degree at uni, but
Mm.
I would quite like to go into accounting or finance or something in that, you know, in that sector. Why not come on and try a course, and then, you know, you can have a go at it. If you don't like
Mm.
it, but you've tried the course and you've kind of seen what it's about, then you can go off to do your A levels and off to university and feel fully happy that no, that's not for me. But it's
Mm.
worth trying a bit of everything just to get an
Mm.
idea of what you want to do. All right. So
And
I
I
will
think
be quiet now. I will be
it's a
quiet.
good opportunity for them to
Yeah,
do that.
really a really good opportunity, and you know, really good, you've got really good prices and things. So please do get in touch if you think it's something that you want to think about for your child. You know, they might not be that kind of child that's ready for university. They might need a different route, and that's where we're here to help. But thank you so much,
Thank
Funmi
you. Thanks.
Williams. We love you.
We love you
Thanks,
too.
Funmi. Right,
Thank
guys, we'll
you.
see you next week for another episode, but thank you for watching.
Thank you.